My name is Amanda. I'm 29, and I just buried my grandmother a week before I showed up at my family's annual holiday gathering. Although winter had draped everything in a blanket of white, that day felt even more chilling, as if an icy hand had gripped my heart. As I entered the grand hall of our family estate, I knew something was off. The laughter, which once filled the air with warmth, now felt hollow. Everyone was pretending. They always had a knack for illusion, like polished actors in a play, each playing their role. My mother, a vision of poise and control, poured cups of spiced cider with an effortless smile, while my father occupied himself with the latest sports highlights on TV, his fingers tapping nervously against his knee. I walked into the room and their laughter faltered. My own smile faltered too. The sight of their comfort made my stomach twist. It wasn't just about the loss of Grandma, it was everything she'd taken with her, our family's unity, our secrets, the very essence of who we were. "Look who finally decided to grace us with her presence," someone called out. It was my cousin, Julia. Her tone was playful, but her eyes had that gleam that told me she savored my discomfort. "Hey, Jules," I replied, forcing the words past my lips. I tried to leave the grief at the door as I joined them at the table, my heart heavy with memories of Grandma's soft smile and gentle hands. She'd always said family was everything, that they were my shelter in life's storms. Yet here I was, feeling like a ghost at my own familial reunion, listening to the chatter about trivial matters that held no substance. The laughter picked up again as I served myself a plate. Between bites of bland turkey and starchy sides, the conversation turned towards Grandma's passing, inevitably landing on the topic of her will. "I wonder who got what," Julia teased, her voice laced with that familiar edge. "I'm not sure we should discuss that right now," my mother interjected, though her eyes darted towards me, betraying her own worry. They thought I hadn't noticed the underlying tension, the murmurs that traveled like shadows amongst the family members. But I had. It was there. I could feel the whispers, the glances exchanged when they thought I wasn't looking. I knew even before I arrived that some of us would be inheriting more than just possessions. Some would inherit the family secrets, the burden of lies we all bore in silence. Later that evening, I slipped away to the attic, that forbidden treasure trove of memories, long untouched. Dust motes danced under the single beam of moonlight shining through the window. It was a time capsule filled with forgotten letters, old toys, and family photos that chronicled a history of both joy and quiet despair. As I rifled through a box labeled Memories, a small, tattered envelope slipped from the stack and landed at my feet. It was marked with my grandmother's careful handwriting. My heart raced, a mixture of excitement and trepidation flooding me. I tore it open, revealing not a letter but a single page. It was a handwritten note just for me. "Dear Amanda, if you're reading this, it means I've crossed over to the next space. There are things I must tell you, things your mother wouldn't want you to know. Find the truth, dear." The rest of the note was a jumble of disjointed thoughts about family loyalty, how secrets festered in the shadows, and how powerful the truth could be if it just had a chance to breathe. It felt both ominous and freeing. My grandmother had known, experienced these undercurrents of pain and deceit. In that moment, I realized she had entrusted me with more than just her memories. She had entrusted me with a key to unraveling this tangled web of betrayal. That night, sleepless and restless, I contemplated my next move. Just as my grandmother had understood the importance of family, she also saw the fractures within ours, fractures I desperately wanted to heal. But first, I needed to expose the truth, starting with my mother. Surely, she must know more. The conflicting emotions danced like flames in my belly. The next day, I confronted her. The living room was quiet as I laid the note before her, the moment laden with uncertainty. "Mom, what is this?" She paled, the color draining from her face as she took in the words on the page. "You weren't supposed to find that," she stammered, and for a moment I thought I saw fear flicker in her eyes. "Why didn't you tell me? What is it you're hiding?" My voice trembled but remained resolute. "Amanda, some truths are better left buried," she pleaded, her fingers twisting together nervously. "Your grandmother she was different. You never really knew her." I wanted to recoil at her words, but I couldn't. A mix of anger and confusion surged within me. "What are you talking about? In her youth, your grandmother had intentions of leaving your grandfather. He wasn't the man you all thought he was. Their marriage was built on lies. There are reasons why family members disappeared, Amanda." "Reasons you don't know about," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I felt as if the ground was giving way beneath me, leaving me grasping for something solid. What do you mean? Who disappeared? What secrets have we even been keeping? Her eyes darted to the window as if the shadows outside held the answers. There were conflicts back then. Your grandmother thought she could protect us, keep us safe by lying. But those lies, those secrets, they've poisoned our family. They started when I was a child. My heart raced. Lies, indeed. They were akin to shards of glass lodged into our family, festering and unseen. Mom, you need to tell me everything. The confrontation tore through her, and suddenly my mother wasn't the composed matriarch. She was a woman cracked under the weight of the years. Your grandfather had an affair, Amanda. It was a scandal, and it broke your grandmother. But the worst part, she hid it from everyone for years, believing it would shield us from the truth. But it only built more walls. Family members lost in resentment and anger. They just drifted away. With every word, she unwound the threads of our family's tapestry, revealing the tangled needles of betrayal and fear buried deep. The story led me to revelations, the names of long-lost relatives, including a cousin I had never met, a cousin living across the country who held pieces of our story I didn't yet know. I need to find them, Mom, I insisted, a fire igniting within me. I need to know who we really are. Please, Amanda. Her voice trembled, but I saw the determination shimmering behind her eyes. Some truths can be more damaging than the lies, but it was too late. The truth was no longer the crumbling foundation I feared. It was the spark needed to rekindle everything that had been lost. After days of searching for the cousin, Emily, I finally made the call. In that moment, when her voice broke through the static, I felt like an explorer unearthing ancient relics. You didn't know about me, she exclaimed. Your grandmother never even mentioned you. I recounted the fractured story of our families, how her name was relegated to whispers around the dinner table. I feel like there's so much more we need to discuss. Our conversation opened the floodgates to an entirely new world, filled with the enchanting tales of family branches I had only brushed against in folklore. As Emily shared the pieces of her life, I felt a sense of belonging grow. This journey had breathed life into something I feared would always remain a ghost of the past. By the time our conversation wrapped up, I had made a new ally, someone who understood the maze of our family's history. It felt as though I'd stumbled upon a treasure chest full of kinship. But even more crucially, the words of my grandmother echoed in my mind. Find the truth, dear. It became clear that the lies had shackled us for far too long, that the shadows concealed too much. As I returned home, I felt invigorated, emboldened. I turned to my mother, who was still recovering from our earlier conversation. This isn't over, I said gently. We need to face our history together. It's time to break the cycle of silence. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded slowly, the weight of the past flickering like a candle reflecting in her shadows. I'll help. We can't change the past, but we can shape the future, can't we? Yes, we could. Our journey began anew, a path not paved by lies, but illuminated by truths we intended to uncover together. We reached out to family members scattered across states, working tirelessly to reconnect the past. Each weekly Zoom call felt like a family reunion, stories woven with laughter and tears as faces flickered on the screen. Our gatherings morphed into an intertwining of hearts once hollow, but now bursting with possibility. By the time the next holiday season rolled around, I stood in the same grand hall, but this time, there was something different, a wave of warmth that traveled from one heart to another. The frivolous chatter was replaced with genuine stories, and as I looked around the room, I no longer felt like a ghost. I felt like a beacon guiding us all home. No longer did I seek shelter in the shadows. The truth had ignited in us a transformative flame, and in that flickering ember, we had forged new bonds, freed from the chains of the past. I realized then what a powerful gift the truth was, not an instrument of destruction, but a catalyst for healing. And as we toasted to new beginnings that night, with laughter weaving through the air, I understood Grandma's last lesson better than ever. It wasn't merely about keeping a family together. It was about embracing the truth, however uncomfortable, however painful, and allowing it to guide us back to one another. I wasn't broken. I was finally finding my voice, our collective voice, a rich symphony of heritage, love, and endurance. As the reservation of our family history began to blossom anew, I wondered, what other stories would we uncover together? What other waiting truths, once hidden, would spark a journey worth sharing? I relished the uncertainty of it all. The beauty was in not knowing what lay ahead, and indeed, I was ready to face it, one truth at a time.